Alright, I found my new spot. Went back up in the Sierras. I'm back up in the pines. I'm actually at a lower elevation like I'd hoped for. I'm at 5,200 feet, so I'm about 2,500 feet lower in elevation than I was last night. And I expect it's going to be a little bit warmer. Doing a few things different this time with my tarp structure and my bedding. And so we'll see how that works out. I've got my fire ring built. I'm right off one of the off-highway vehicle roads here. And this particular area, they've lifted the campfire restriction so I can have a campfire. Got my ground cleared of flammable materials for a 10-foot circle around this thing. Fire's going. I'm going to get it down to coals. Once I have it down to coals, then I'm going to go ahead and start preparing some dinner. Tonight I'm going to do a salt pork, onion, and apple dish. It should be really good. Cook it in one pan. I'm looking forward to sharing it with all of you. Okay, it's about time to start a little bit of dinner. My wood's burned down and I've got a pretty good bed of coals. So I'm going to start with cutting up my apple. And for the first time you're going to see me use my extra kitchen knife. The reason I'm doing that is I'm going to do some fairly fine slicing. This is a lot better than a Bushcraft knife for that. So for the sake of cooking, this works. Now, rather than core the apple, just going to go around it, cut 4 sides around the core. And then dice the apple. Not too small pieces, but chunks. And I know my knife technique is not that great. I don't claim to be a chef. Anybody's got any complaints, come cook for me. So but I don't go hungry, so I must be doing something right. Okay, so the apple's cut up. I'll put that on my plate, let it sit for a while. Like I said, I'm no master chef, so don't critique my technique. I'm deliberately peeling down an extra layer because I have way more onion than I need. It's just easier for me. Plus the onion's been in the saddlebag for a couple of days, so an extra layer can't hurt. There we go. In this case, I think about half an onion is going to do it. I'm going to save the other half of that onion. So, the other ingredient here, salt pork. Good thing about salt pork is you can carry it without refrigeration, and it does just fine. About a quarter pound is what I have here, and that's what I need. So I'm cutting that last on my cutting board, since it is pork and since it is meat, so as not to potentially make myself sick, contaminate my raw vegetables there. I'm going to cut this into small chunks. Should cut the skin off first. About the same size pieces as my apples and my onion, as close as I can come anyway. And there we have it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put my frying pan in the fire here. I'm going to put my salt pork in and get it started frying. That should get going pretty good there in a minute. Alright, so I got my meat on, got my knife and my cutting board cleaned up pretty well. Starting to sizzle. What I want to do is just get the salt pork till it's thoroughly cooked and browned. Then I'm going to take that out and I'm going to cook my onions and my apples. You'll notice I put my food scraps cuttings in the fire. It's a good idea. Try and burn them up as much as you can over the night. Any food wrapping, any food cuttings, anything like that will get pretty well burned up, and that will help me prevent bears and other critters from coming around. I do not like to burn plastic though, so I'll put the plastic in a separate sealed bag and put that with my bear bag hung up between a couple of trees. Well, we'll let this cook for a few minutes and come back when it's browned. Okay, it looks like the pork's pretty well done. So I want it, everything's brown, there's no pink in there. All the oil's rendered out. So now I'm going to take my veggies and put them on the cutting board and try not to lose too many. And I'm going to take my pork and put that on the plate. I'm not going to take the oil with it, just the pork by itself. Okay, put this back on the fire. Then I can take my veggies and put them in. And then we're going to let that sizzle for a while. So I'm going to take the plate, put the plate over the top. And we're going to let it cook for a while like that. That'll keep the meat warm and that'll thoroughly cook the vegetables. Get in there and stir them in a minute. So every once in a while, I want to stir the vegetables. I'm trying to get everything browned, but obviously not overcooked. Again, this trip hasn't been about healthy foods in the sense of low fat, low salt. It's been about not processed foods, not canned foods, not dried foods, things like that. I did stop earlier in the day and I ate some lunch. Unfortunately, I literally pulled over on a wide spot on the side of the road. It was not the best place to set up a camera. Took my camera out. I was going to film me eating bread and salami and cheese, but it just wasn't exciting enough footage to make it worth the risk. So I can tell you the bread and the cheese and the salami was excellent. Interesting thing, the three cheeses I got two from a cheese store that were fairly expensive, and I got one from the local grocery store that was a 12-year-old cheddar. Fairly expensive for them, but not a real high-end cheese. After a couple of days in the cheesecloth, not refrigerated, what a difference. That 12-year-old cheddar came alive. That was one of the best cheeses I've ever had, and it was fairly inexpensive. So if you get aged cheddar at the grocery store, don't refrigerate it. Put it in cheesecloth, let it breathe. Don't get it hot, obviously. Keep it in a dark, room temperature place, and you will be amazed at how well it'll come alive and how good it'll taste. If you like cheese. I like cheese. So our veggies are cooking along here. Cover them back up. Okay, should be getting pretty close here. Oh yeah. Everything's brown. The onions are really soft. Apples are really soft. I think it's time to add in the meat. Stir that in. And there you have it, a one-pan meal, salt pork, onions, apples. I used a half a large onion. Could have used a whole onion if I'd had a bigger pan, I guess, but I used a whole small apple. Probably could have used another half an apple. I'd like more balance there. And about a 1/4 pound of salt pork. Worked out good. Let's see how it tastes. Oh man, that's beyond good. That is just, as far as one pan meals go, it's one of the best that I've ever made. At least in the top 5. Well, I think I'm gonna finish eating my dinner here. Still a little bit early. I wanted an early dinner, so I cooked about 4 o'clock here. And I'm going to finish this up. I'm going to take a hike and come back and do another roasted apple. And probably won't film that. You've already seen that once. So do that, go to bed, and I'll see you folks for breakfast.